Hey folks, coming at you for the August Member of the Month with Tasso and Angela. We have our standard 11 questions coming up. First and foremost, just a shout out for the 14th of September, the Masters Garage Games that we are hosting here. If you are over 30 and part of this gym, as the three of us are, definitely sign yourself up for it and be a part of it. So let's get into them. Number one, the books that you guys have either given as gifts or have received as gifts that have meant a lot to you over the years.
Well, have you ever read War of Art?
No.
War of Art's by Stephen Pressfield, who was he's a novelist and a screenwriter, and he wrote Gates of Fire, which is the story on the 300, and he wrote At the Lion's Gate, which is the story of an Israeli commando team, whatever. But War of Art is basically his. He was a struggling writer for a long time, and he had a problem with alcohol, and it was like kind of how he summed up a way to, like, you know, here's my fears, here's my doubts, here's my my worries, here's my anxieties, and how they always would conflict with what he was trying to do with life, how they would always stop him from doing the things he wanted to do. So he calls it resistance, and he looks at everything. He's like, okay, well, you know, as I sit in front of a blank page, the first thing I think is, well, what the hell am I going to do? Well, that's resistance. Obviously, it's a fear, it's a doubt, or something. That was anxiety, and he looks at it through like about 10 to 15 different ways of like these things creep up on you, or pop up out of nowhere, and you kind of don't even realize it because you're kind of doing your thing, and then, you know, our self-talk jumps in there and says, hey, you know, you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you're not this enough. And he's like, here's how you can recognize it and hopefully get past it. So I read it quite a lot, maybe once a year, and then I've given it a few times to friends.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Tasso, do you read different chapters at different points in time too?
Yeah, you can pick it up anywhere, you know. Just pick it up and it's like, all right, 3 pages, cool. It's a lot of anecdotes, so it's not like you don't follow a progression. You just kind of.
I like those books because, like you said, you can pick them up, read them, put them down, pick it up, read a different section, a different point in time.
Yeah.
Back and forth. Angela.
Well, I don't really read much, but I have read a lot of stuff, information, but I would say like a few books that have really made an impression on me, like when I was like 20 years old, I read this book called Catholic Boy in America, and I was doing a lot of South African study work that changed my mind about like culture and racism, and his drive to leave South Africa came over as like a tennis star. But he had to fight to get out of South Africa during like the high point of apartheid. And it was a very like eye-opening book about like things that happen in governments and institutional like racism and, you know, just crimes of humanity sorts of things. So for me, that was like a pretty much life-changing book for me, because I was like, it kind of set me up for like where I was gonna like kind of go, just in the sense of like living off the grid, and then like trying to like you know, fight against, you know, be an activist in like stuff that I do. But books that I give, and currently the things that I really go back to regularly are Mary Ellicott-Mark. She's a photographer, and photo books. We really enjoy photo books, so we give those out as gifts a lot. And I like street photography. So those are, and Joel Peter Witkin is a huge artist that I'm really influenced by. So his books are like incredibly fantasy-driven, but dark. Imagery. They're amazing books. There's one book called The Bone Collection. So those are like, we have a prized possession of photo books, like thousands of dollars worth of photo books on
That's
the wall.
cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
So as far as books, I would say that, because I don't really read books. He's the reader. He's the smart one.
Number 2, the purchase of less than $100 that you've made in the last month, 6 months. I can't remember exactly how it's phrased, but purchase of $100, less than $100.
Less than $100. Let me tell you, I got my selfie light on Amazon, and it is the best, okay? Because I take a lot of photos of myself for my profession. Hold it up, clamp it on, boom, you got light. It's $10 on Amazon. Get it, it's worth it.
Excellent. Tasso.
That was my most hated purchase of $100 glasses. She uses everything. I actually have bought colored pencils. It was a couple years ago actually, but I use them often. And adult coloring books.
Yes.
And, it's just a pretty awesome way to just, well, you can focus
Yeah.
and
Relax, tune
relax
out.
and tune
Yeah.
everything out and not really put too much thought into
Right.
anything. And say, you know, you just turn a page like, I'm going to use all my blues today, and I'm going to
Yeah.
turn a page, I'm going to use all my reds today. Turn a page, I'm going to use all my dark colors today. And it's really fun. Just, you know, an hour or two goes by and you're like, oh, cool. It looks
I have
really
a
cool.
piece of art.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Number 3, a failure that you would now term as a success.
I was gonna say before, well, where shall I begin, but, I've got so many of them, but, I mean, my first business was a very big production of jewelry. I started traveling when I was very young, like in high school and to college, and I made jewelry and turned it into a business. So I started getting it manufactured overseas. It turned into a very like big phenomenon that we won't say what years because that would date me, but we'll just say, you know, in the past. And at that point, it got really big. Like it was like beyond like my scope of like, holy shit, I have a business that's earning $300,000 in jewelry in the summer. Like, how the fuck did that happen? So, I mean, my dad helped me and we built it, but inevitably it failed because I was not equipped mentally to deal with like I'm stressed now. So it's like I didn't like go to art school and decide to become a gypsy to have this like business that was killing me. And I didn't like understand how to, when your business expands really quickly like that, you can either go belly up or you improve, but you have to find that balance of how to put money into it to accelerate it to the point where it can stabilize. So inevitably, also I was in a bad relationship, that didn't work out. The whole thing kind of crumbled. That's before I met Tasso. And then the knight in shining armor came along. But that, all that information that I learned just set me up for producing in the show world and everything else I knew up after that. Because I had like all this knowledge of like how to actually like run a business and deal with people, manage people, deal with numbers, how to crunch numbers. So that would probably be like the most biggest one.
Yeah, where do we begin with failures? But I like it. There's a story I tell to a lot of people that I hang out with, which was, it was kind of like a mini failure that turned into a success all at the same time, which we were working Rothbury Festival, which was kind of what Electric Force is, just before it was Electric Force. And we had to deal with our own stage and put it together by ourselves, and it was in the middle of the forest. And we show up and it's mud everywhere, and it's been raining for days in a row, and we've got this massive box truck that we have to unload and set up the stage. And, they left us zero infrastructure, so we're doing everything on our own. And we had to take these like 20-foot truss systems, and I basically wrapped them around trees. And I'm not an arborist, so I was just
I pretty much
praying
lost my mind at
that
that
they
point. I
wouldn't
was like, fuck
break
that.
off.
Typical, yeah.
Yeah, so we wrapped these trusses on it, and then we had this top truss that had to go on top of everything, and that thing weighed like 400 or 500 pounds. And we were trying for hours to put this thing up, and we could barely lift it. And it was like me and a few other guys, and then all the bigwigs came, and they were all like staring at us, and we were all freaking the fuck out, and getting really pressured. And then they brought in like 10 people, like, we'll get a bunch of people to help you. And then they came, and we just, there was no way we could figure it out. We're like, this is not gonna happen. And then I was like, well, we'll break in for lunch. And they all left, and I was just like, I kind of thought I saw like a lot of like worry and disappointment on these people's faces. So I stayed there with 2 really good friends, and we just sat there for about 15 minutes. They had a smoke, and I was just like brooding, and I'm like, nah, we're just gonna do it ourselves. They're like, well, what do you have in mind? I'm like, well, you guys are strong. So you're gonna lift the damn thing up, and then I'm just gonna like follow you on the trusses and just kind of like secure it. And so we ended up getting up 20 feet up in the air. And
With
then,
those big wraps.
yeah, and then I just wrapped it all together. And I went from one end to the other, wrapping
like
it.
truck-
And it was done,
the
and
truck
we got it done,
wraps.
and the show actually
Truck
turned out really
straps.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Number 4, if you had a billboard and you could have it say anything, what would it say?
Shut the fuck up.
Okay.
Quit
Tasso?
complaining.
Well, we talk a lot about,
That's not really what I
um,
I'm just kidding.
a lot of my family doesn't live near me, and her family kind of didn't live near us for a long time. And we spent a long time in bar community, and so we've talked about we've had friends, as you know already, that have lived with us on and off over the years that have had major issues in their lives, and substance problems, but they become family. That you take care of them as best you can. So I would write something, we talk about like building a village. You got to build your village. You have to go out there and actually seek these people, and
Build a tribe.
and then you got to you got to take care of them. They got to take care of you, and hopefully it's a reciprocal relationship. And it's a lot like what we do here, which is that's what we talked about from the first time I came. Like I like the community. That's
So
why I
it
stayed
would
there.
say, when you're dead, who would show up at your funeral? Then in big bold letters, build your tribe.
Number 5, worthwhile investments that you have made in general in your life, or in specific in your life.
Well, CFCE.